How is this mistake possible? FedEx Flight 1170. A routine flight turns deadly. The night sky was calm as FedEx Flight 1170 cruised at 35,000 feet en route from Memphis to Denver. The flight carried no passengers, just tons of high-priority cargo. In the cockpit sat Captain Robert "Bob" Hastings, a seasoned pilot with 20 years of experience, and First Officer Daniel Reeves, a promising young pilot eager to prove himself. "This is going to be an easy one," Bob said, stretching in his seat. Daniel chuckled. "Yeah, smooth air, no storms, just another night in the office." Little did they know, the night was about to take a terrifying turn. The first warning. At 1:47 a.m., just as the plane crossed the Rocky Mountains, the aircraft jerked violently. A loud alarm blared through the cockpit. Autopilot disengaged. Daniel shouted, gripping the controls. Bob checked the instruments. "We just lost hydraulic pressure in System A." Switching to backup, Daniel flicked the toggle for System B, but nothing happened. Bob's hands tightened around the throttle. "That's not possible. One failure?" "Sure. But both systems." The plane shuddered again. Warning lights flashed across the dashboard. "Denver ATC, this is FedEx 1170. We have hydraulic failure. Requesting immediate landing clearance." "Copy that, Flight 1170. Emergency runway is ready." Bob took a deep breath. Flying a fully loaded cargo plane without hydraulics was like steering a runaway train. Possible, but deadly. And then something moved in the cargo hold. The shadow in the cargo hold. Daniel frowned at the internal security monitor, which displayed a grainy live feed from the cargo bay. His stomach dropped. A figure was moving among the cargo containers. "Bob, look at this." Bob turned and squinted at the screen. There was supposed to be nobody back there. FedEx flights carried only cargo. As they watched, the figure stepped closer to the camera. Then the screen cut to static. Bob and Daniel exchanged uneasy glances. "We got a problem," Daniel said. Bob exhaled sharply. "I'll keep us steady. Go check it out, but be careful." Face to face with the intruder, Daniel unbuckled his seatbelt and grabbed a flashlight. His heart pounded as he stepped into the cold, dimly lit cargo hold. The sound of the engines roared around him. The massive containers were stacked neatly, but something felt wrong. He moved cautiously, scanning the shadows. Then a sound. A soft metallic click. Before he could react, a figure lunged from the darkness and slammed him against a crate. Daniel gasped as pain shot through his ribs. His flashlight clattered to the floor. A man in dark clothing loomed over him, his face partly hidden by a mask. But what Daniel did see sent a chill through him. A FedEx employee badge on the intruder's chest. "Who are you?" Daniel gasped. The man didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out a knife. A dangerous revelation. In the cockpit, Bob was struggling to keep the plane level. "Daniel, come in," he called over the radio. Silence. His grip on the controls tightened. Something was very, very wrong. Making a split-second decision, Bob activated the autopilot override, then grabbed the emergency firearm from beneath his seat and rushed toward the cargo hold. When he burst through the door, he saw Daniel pinned against a crate, the knife mere inches from his throat. "Let him go." Bob aimed the gun, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. The intruder froze. Then, in a calm voice, he said, "You don't understand what's happening." Bob tightened his grip. "Then explain." The man smirked. "This plane was never meant to land. A flight doomed from the start." The words sent a fresh wave of dread through Bob and Daniel. Daniel shoved the intruder back, breathing hard. "What are you talking about?" The man straightened, still unfazed. "Your hydraulic systems weren't just failing. They were sabotaged." Bob's stomach clenched. "Why?" The man sighed, almost bored. "Someone paid a lot of money to make sure this plane never reaches Denver." Before Bob could react, the intruder lunged. A gunshot rang out. The man staggered back, clutching his shoulder, blood seeping through his shirt. Bob had fired, but not fatally. The man grinned, despite the wound. And then he ran. Bob and Daniel chased him as he sprinted toward the emergency exit hatch. Before they could close the gap, the hatch flew open. The sudden decompression sent loose cargo flying, alarms blaring as the freezing wind screamed through the hold. The intruder grabbed onto the edge of the hatch, then jumped into the darkness. His body disappeared into the night sky. A desperate landing. With the cargo hold door partially open, the plane was in even greater danger. They were losing altitude fast. Bob and Daniel scrambled back to the cockpit. The instruments were blinking red. The hacked hydraulic systems were completely dead. Denver ATC's voice came through the radio. Flight 1170, you are dangerously low. Can you make the runway? Bob gritted his teeth. We're going for it. With sheer pilot skill, he used every trick in the book to manually guide the aircraft. The plane was falling too fast. The runway lights rushed toward them. And then impact. The plane slammed onto the emergency runway, sparks flying as metal screeched. The aircraft skidded violently, tearing across the tarmac. For a terrifying moment, it seemed like they wouldn't stop. Then silence. They had made it. Barely. Emergency crews surrounded the wrecked aircraft, helping Bob and Daniel out. As investigators combed through the cargo hold, they found no trace of the intruder. No ID. No records. Nothing. Who was he? Daniel whispered. Bob shook his head. I don't know. But someone out there wanted us dead. As they stood in the flashing lights of the rescue teams, one thing was clear. This wasn't just an accident. It was something bigger. And the real question remained. Who was behind it?